And now, another episode of MMA Gossip with your boys.
Boom. We're live, baby. MMA Gossip, episode 29, back in your life. You guys know the usual. I say this every fucking episode, so just do it so I don't have to keep saying it. Like, comment, subscribe. Socials, at MMA X Gossip. The same as always. Listen to every single episode. I'm going to say the same exact thing. With that being said, we are going to go over Bellator 245 on Friday, Bellator 246 on Saturday, and UFC Vegas 10 also on Saturday. Big MMA weekend for the boys. We'll also be shooting the shit about some Canelo Alvarez stuff, some Nick Diaz stuff, and everything fucking in between. So once Matt is done picking his nails, let's get into it.
All right. All right. So just real quick recap from last week's Overeem versus Sakai. Hunter Azure beats Cole Smith by decision. Vivian Araujo, same thing, decision over Montana De La Rosa. Kelleher gets a quick sub guillotine over Ray Rodriguez. Andre Muniz.
Kelleher, answer our messages, damn it.
Oh, Kelleher, yeah, I know. Kelleher, come on, bro. Andre Muniz with a submission over Bartos. We called that, cashed on that dog. Pereira destroys Zaleem. Zaleem is trash. I'm sorry. Owen St. Preux gets a nice counter left hook knockout over Alonzo Menifield. Beautiful. Chris, you called that. I was on the wrong side. Alistair Overeem proves why he is a veteran and beat Augusto Sakai in the fifth round. It was absolutely beautiful, man. Just when, and we all called it. We were all on Overeem, right? Yeah, we called it, man. When a fighter's overall better, I'm done with the whole puncher's chance bullshit, man. No one should ever make plays or picks like that. Overeem was the better fighter. He is the better fighter, and he proved why in a 5-round fight. It was beautiful. Any comments on that, guys?
I'm actually going to scale back to the Pereira fight real quick. I was watching that fight. I thought he actually looked really good. Like, for once in his life, he actually looked like he gave a shit, and he didn't want to just go in there and put on a show. I mean, granted, he did have a couple crazy attacks where he'd front flip or jump off the cage, but it wasn't the basis of his game, as it usually is. He's just a very violent and powerful man. So if he can keep his head on straight, I'm not, he's no future champ by any means, but keep his head on straight, keep doing what he's doing, and stay away from all that stuff that gasses him and honestly just really isn't a way to win fights. Interested to see what he could do moving forward because he is very dynamic and he is very powerful and he seems to be well-versed everywhere. So, I mean, granted, who he fought is absolute dog shit, no offense, but we'll see what happens with him. I was excited to see him fight like normal for once.
I can't wait until he loses his next fight and you'd say the exact opposite and I'm going to reference this.
Well said, Matt. I agree. Pereira does look real good, and I cashed on that. Plus 1,400 by submission. Crazy. Anyway, Chrissy Bellator. You want to talk 245 real quick?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to pull up the card right here. Bellator 245, main event. Phil Davis and Lyoto Machida 2. It's a rematch. The first fight went down, I think it was, I'm looking over here, I think it was 163. And Davis got the UD win, 29-28 across the board. It was a close fight, because it's only 3 rounds, but it wasn't a very close fight. I think Phil Davis clearly won 2 rounds to 1. I should pull up the odds. Matt, you'd probably know better than me. I don't have the odds in front of me.
Plus 265 for Machida. And I guess, minus 300 or so?
Yeah, I think he's even higher. I saw him at minus 350.
No, it moved up. It's you're actually getting close to plus 300 now with certain websites with Machida, and you're getting minus 350, pushing 365 with Davis. It depends where you're betting. I've seen it as high as plus 300 through Sportsbet and as low as plus 260. No, sorry, plus 225 for Machida through Sports International.
Interesting. Well, like we said, Machida is 42 years old. Phil Davis, 35 years old. Phil Davis had an amazing run at Bellator, won the light heavyweight belt, had since lost it. I think it might have been to Bader. He might have lost his belt too. And then, he kind of had a hard little run right there. He lost to Nemkov, but who hasn't lost to Nemkov at this fucking point? And he's on a 2-fight win streak right now. Lyoto Machida is not doing too bad himself. I think he lost his last fight. Before that was putting out the lights of past their prime UFC fighters like Chael Sonnen. Co-main event, Kat Zingano, another past their prime UFC fighter, taking on, I think her name is Gabby Holloway, I want to say. Gabby Holloway, who weighed in 5 pounds over the limit. Kat Zingano is minus 1,000. which is absolutely insane. She's coming off a 2-year layoff, fighting in a new weight class, in a new promotion during COVID. I just think I would never, I mean, no sane person would ever lay minus 1,000 chalk on her. Maybe Matt will if he's desperate for money. But her opponent, Gabby Holloway, looked absolutely, to quote Mike, atrocious on the scale. It was bad. She's 6-5. I know nothing about her. I'm Bellator's biggest fan, and I think that's the absolute point here. They're trying to promote Kat Zingano. I'm interested to see her fight up a weight class. You know, she got that breast reduction, and she didn't look too good on the scale, but let's see how she performs in the octagon. Third, the feature fight, that's what Bellator calls the third fight in the card, is Ed Ruth versus Taylor Johnson. Everyone knows about Ed Ruth. He's coming in at minus 300 here. I believe he has an 8-2 record. He's lost some fights to who the hell was it? I forget his name off the top of my head, but it's the 24-0 guy that Bellator's been promoting like crazy. Matt, maybe you want to look that up for me. Everyone knows Ed Ruth is a NCAA Division I All-American wrestler 3 times over. To put that in perspective, Phil Davis is one of the biggest names ever to come out of Penn State, and he only did it 1 time. So for Ed Ruth to do it 3 times just shows he's super promotable. They had him in the welterweight Grand Prix where he unfortunately lost, but this is a fight where they're putting him against Taylor Johnson, who's literally famous for losing to Andre Muniz on the Contender Series. And I think this is a fight where they're just setting Ed Ruth up for success. He's minus 300, and this is one of those times where I actually would lay minus 300 at Ed Ruth. He kind of looked not so promising. I think he might have even lost to Neiman Gracie.
He did. Actually, not to interrupt you, I do have it in front of me. It was Neiman Gracie, rear naked choke, and then the guy I'm sure you're referencing was Yaroslav Ammo.
Yeah, he's 24-0, and Bellator's been promoting the shit out of him lately. So yeah, Taylor Johnson, not his caliber. I see Ed Ruth cruising, maybe getting a finish, but cruising to victory. I think they're trying to get rounds under him. He's only 8-2, I think, so he's still pretty green in MMA. Next up, Raymond Daniels taking on Peter Stanonik. No idea who Peter Stanonik is, but I'll tell you this. He's 5-4. His MMA record is 5-4, and he's a kickboxer. Raymond Daniels is 2-1 in MMA. He's married to Sage Northcutt's sister, funny enough. But he is, he was a Glory kickboxing stud. He had wars in Glory. He just stood out. Everyone watched. He's super flashy. He's known for those spinning, fucking every kick you can imagine, punches from every angle. Super exciting, super flashy. And he's fighting Peter Stanonik, who is, like I said, 5-4 and is known to be a kickboxer. Raymond Daniels is minus 370, and it's for very good reason. There's going to be no takedowns in this fight, and Raymond Daniels is probably going to be on SportsCenter Top 10 yet again for a highlight reel knockout. Next, we got to go to the prelims. This is actually a crazy fight for the prelims. So it's Rafael Cavallo versus Alex Polizzi. Rafael Cavallo was the ex-Bellator middleweight champion. This is a light heavyweight bout. Interesting because the lines on this are Cavallo is minus 140, which is oddly close. Alex Polizzi is 6-0. I don't know too much about him, but this is one of those fights where it just seems a little sketchy. Like, why is the line so close for an ex-champion? The only reason I can think of is that Cavallo has 1 fight at light heavyweight and lost again to Nemkov. There's a fucking what's the pattern here? Nemkov beats everyone. But anyway, 6-0. It just seems like they're trying to set up Alex Polizzi here. Cavallo's a little bit past his prime. He lost some fights he shouldn't have lost and got stopped pretty badly in some fights. So
recently, not recently, but relatively recently.
Say it again.
Didn't he get stopped by Machida?
Machida beat him. It just seems like he's 16-4, and he just seems like he's getting a little bit past his prime. And Bellator is now doing the UFC method and using a big familiar face to promote a young and up-and-coming fighter. In Alex Polizzi, who's fought for LFA and other smaller promotions, has been a champion in every promotion he's fought for. 6-0, it's a little sketchy record to be that close. But I don't know enough about him, and I'd almost be willing to bet on Cavallo at minus 140. It seems like pretty good odds for someone with that much experience. Next, this fight is hilarious. This is a Bellator fight 2AT. Tyrell Fortune, who's a very familiar face in Bellator, is taking on Jack May. Jack May is – I wrote this down because you guys were going to love this. He's 11-6. He's on a 1-4 skid. He's been KO'd by Derek Lewis, Chase Sherman, Sean Jordan, Francisco Barroso, Alex Nicholson, and Mark Godbeer.
There's some really, really bad names in that mix. Where do you want to start?
Dude.
Start with Chase Sherman and Mark Godbeer. Holy fuck, this guy sucks.
And the Mark Godbeer fight, I'm almost positive was in bare knuckle boxing.
Oh, perfect.
So that just yeah.
What happens when you get knocked out by Timothy Johnson? You get served up a win on a silver platter.
Yeah, Tyrell Fortune is just one of those Bellator guys. Super, like, you know, he's got the big don't take this wrong way, big black heavyweights and just scary looking fucking dude. And Bellator loves to promote him, and he came out and got fucking mollywopped by Timothy Johnson, who was a setup fight for him. I think he was minus 300 in that fight. He's coming in at minus 600 in this fight. So
Dude,
I guess
he's an underdog against Timothy Johnson. I'm actually going to look.
Say it again.
I want to see the old odds on that. I think he was a bigger underdog. I mean, bigger favorite against Timothy Johnson.
Oh, I was going to say underdog, dude. I almost fell out of my chair.
His closing range for Timothy Johnson was minus 900.
There you go. This fight, though, I believe, like, I don't see any way. Like, I would never lay minus 600 on any fighter ever, but Jack May, like, big yikes.
It's so funny, dude. You know when Bellator wants somebody to win, it's basically this whole card. Like, start with Katzengano and just start going down. You know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean. Trust me. And lastly, a 140-pound catchweight, excuse me, I had the hiccups, this is second to last card. It was supposed to be the last fight in the card, or the opening fight. But anyway, it is Keith Lee taking on Vinicius Zani. Keith Lee, famously known as the younger brother of Kevin Lee. Bellator definitely wants to promote him. They show Kevin Lee highlights when fucking Keith Lee is fighting. Keith Lee didn't do too good in the start of his career and has come up since. He's got a 6-3 record, but I believe he started off like 1-2 or 2-2 and has gotten pretty good since then. He's got one win in Bellator, super promotable, where on the other hand, Zani, he's got experience on his side. He's only 5'5", though, so it's kind of questionable at 140 pounds, only being 5'5". But he's lost to Patricio Pitbull, Thomas Almeida, and Ricky Simone. So he's been in there with some good quality competition. And when he fought Patricio Pitbull was 10-0. So they were using him as a stepping stone. But he got in there with some pretty big names and didn't get finished. So take that for what it's worth. And then last, the curtain jerker, everyone's favorite fighter, Leslie Smith versus Amanda Bell. Both coming off, which I might add, we're breaking news, not literally on the podcast, but Chris Cyborg is going to be fighting Arlene Blencowe coming up. She's defending her belt. Arlene Blencowe is 13-7 in MMA and 4-4 in boxing. She's lost twice to Julia Budd, who is a past champion, but her last two wins are over Leslie Smith and Amanda Bell. So the curtain jerk of the night, Leslie Smith and Amanda Bell. Leslie Smith with a whopping 11-8-1 record, and Amanda Bell 7-6. Leslie Smith is coming in at a minus 270 favorite. Again, I would never lay minus 270 on Leslie Smith. She did, as Mike would say again, atrocious in the UFC. Amanda Bell has 6 losses, and 5 of those losses were stoppages, which is not good for a girl fighting in general, let alone 135, 145 pounds. So take that for what it's worth, and that is the Bellator 245 rundown. More to come on Saturday for Bellator 246. And I think one thing of note, it's in Uncasville, Connecticut, and Mohegan Sun, which is Bellator's favorite fucking venue. But they do have something good going on over there. So the UFC obviously has Fight Island in Vegas, but it seems like Bellator's got something good going on with Mohegan Sun. They've been loyal forever, and it's paying off for them.
Chrissy Bellator, you're the man.
I tried, dude. I tried. I'm a fucking loser.
All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go right into UFC Vegas 10, and then Chris is going to finish at the end with Bellator 246, so he doesn't talk for like 20 minutes straight. So, guys,
Nobody wants to hear that.
Feel free to chime in whenever you want. I am a gym teacher teaching virtually, so I have way too much time on my hands. So I actually really dove into this card to see if I could find some, juicy opportunities for us. So again, feel free to jump in whenever you want. Obviously, the upper portion of the card is a little bit more interesting than the bottom half, so I'll just keep running through it. And guys, tell me to shut up whenever you want. Brock Weaver with a last-minute replacement. He was supposed to fight Frank Camacho, but as of, I think it was this morning, Camacho pulled out. I'm not really sure. I think it's undisclosed, but his replacement is the tarantula, Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner is a massive favorite over Brock Weaver. I personally think Brock Weaver is somewhat as a I wouldn't say fraud, but he is not UFC caliber. So Jalen Turner should cruise here, and it's at a catch weight. It's not 155. I think it's at 165. I'm pretty sure that's where they sell that. Up next, Alexander Romanov. Remember him? He was supposed to fight last week against Rogerio de Lima, who got COVID, apparently. Last-minute replacement fight is Roque Martinez. I don't know who he is, and I probably shouldn't, because they're probably trying to promote Romanov here. So Romanov is going to win. He's a big favorite, probably around 300, minus 300 or so, and I'm going to roll with him 100%. Up next, Julia Vila going up against Sarge Eubanks. Eubanks was supposed to fight it was supposed to fight Carl Hoza. That fell through, and then funny I say that Avila was supposed to fight Nico Montano. Things fall through, shit happens, UFC puts things together, and they came up with this fight. So it's not really a late minute replacement for either person. They both have been training. The thing is, though, Sarge is, she cuts a lot of weight, and doing that 2 weeks in a row could take a toll on her body. She doesn't have good cardio as it is. I think Avila should roll here. She's a big favorite, and the way that she beat up Pianzad was like devastating. And Pianzad is like, I wouldn't say legit, but she's tough. She's a tough out for everybody. But Avila like steamrolled her, and Eubanks has been shown to like fight to the level of opponent or less and just kind of look like shit. She has a couple good wins, great jiu-jitsu, but I just see Avila just avoiding the takedown and just piecing her up, and maybe even get a finish inside the distance. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, one thing you said it already, but I just wanted to touch on Eubanks making that cut already. She's already known to miss weight, already known to pull out of fights for missing weight, and now making back-to-back cuts is just, I don't see that being good, on top of already being a big freaking underdog.
Yeah, I'm hammering Avila. Like that might, if the line was a little bit less, it'd probably be a lock for me. I think she absolutely steamrolls her. And just going back a couple fights, if you're Brock Weaver, what shit luck getting a late replacement like Jalen Turner, man. Camacho, granted, he was minus 230, which I don't think he deserves to be that against anything ever. But Jalen Turner's fucking, I don't know, man. That line's gonna be crazy. Mike, go ahead. I just had to touch on that because I would not want to hear 3 days before I'm fighting. Oh, by the way, you're fighting Jalen Turner, who's a foot taller than you, and his arm is as long as your body. Perfect, great.
And so is his penis.
Yeah.
His penis is as long as your forearm.
No, you're right. Dude, Brock has done nothing in the UFC, man. He was a huge favorite in his debut against the nobody. He got wrestle fucked, looked like shit. DQ, he got the win because of illegal knee by his opponent. And then he fought Roosevelt Roberts and got steamrolled. So it's what has Brock shown to make you think that he's capable of being in the UFC? Nothing. And this fight is huge for him. This is make or break. And I really think Jalen Turner is going to squash him.
And a lot of fighters like beating up on him because that whole dog fighting shit.
That's
I
it.
was just going to say that.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyway, up next, Alan Patrick. Making his return, I think after 2 years. He's older now. He's 37, going up against Bobby King Green. He's the man. We all love him on this podcast. He's one of those guys that's fighting a lot during quarantine. He looked great against Landon Venata in his last fight, considering their first fight was a draw due to a point reduction by Landon Venata. So he really proved that he is the better fighter when compared to Landon, and he also beat Clay Guida in a fight that was a little bit closer than it should be. But that's how King fights, man. He makes his fights real close, fights to the level of his opponent. But in this particular matchup, I really think he should roll here. Alan Patrick, when he doesn't get the takedown, he is lost. When he fought Hot Sauce Holtzman, he went for 7 takedowns, didn't get any of them, and then he just folded up like a chair and just keeled over. It was over. He's older now, and I think Bobby Green, he's found his stride again for the 6th time, and this seems like the perfect spot for an apple shitter, for him to, fuck up your parlay or something. But I'm gonna roll with Bobby Green here. I think Alan Patrick's on his half his body's out the door. Go ahead, Matt.
Plus Bobby Green, people don't really realize this because they just see him with his very loose stand-up, hands down, very free-flowing. He's actually a pretty fucking good wrestler. So I have no problem betting on him to defend takedowns. If he does get taken down, him getting up, he's low-key a very well-rounded guy. I know he's had some really bad skids. He lost to Drakkar Klose and then Chinaldo. Before that, he had 1 win. And then before that, he was a draw, loss. But against guys like, Magomedov, Dustin Poirier, Edson Barbosa, it's nothing bad. You're in there against the top of the food chain. But he's pretty well-rounded. He's 8 knockouts, 9 subs. He gets it done in multiple ways. So I have no problem with anywhere that Patrick will take this fight. Bobby Green will be just fine. I would lock him into most of your parlays. Not all, because like Mike said, he can tend to shit the bed. So that's more of his, him just not being all there for the fight as opposed to him just not being that good of a fighter.
Agreed. Yeah, his takedown defense is definitely a little bit underrated. People think he can't grapple, but he can. Let's put it that way. He's well versed enough to give people problems. Let's put it that way. Sabina Mazo, this fight's like kind of whack. Sabina Mazo going up against Justine Kish. The first thing I have to say is I think the line is a little bit off. I don't think Mazo should be that big of a favorite. I think she's like minus 278, something absurd like that. Listen.
Whoa.
Yeah. I'm like, what has Mazo done in the UFC? I think the UFC is trying to promote her. She's a pretty face. She's from Colombia, one of the few fighters from Colombia. But if you look at her wins and losses, she's 2-1, and she didn't look great in her wins. The JJ Aldrich fight was very close, and she had a loss to Marina Moroz, and she soundly lost that fight, and she always gets pieced up. She has zero head movement, and Justine Kish is an underrated boxer. So I'm not going to say Kish wins. If I have to make a pick, I'm picking Mazo because of volume. But, I mean, I feel like this is the perfect recipe for to break a parlay. So I would not lay the wood on Mazo at all. Honestly, if you got to go do something, do it during this fight because it's going to go 3-round decision, Snorefest. Roosevelt Roberts making a comeback over here after losing as a big favorite to Jim Miller. Shout out to Jim Miller, New Jersey. He's going up against Matt the Steamroller Frevola. Frevola is finally getting into the cage, barring any bullshit happening on Saturday, COVID shit. But he's finally making his way back to the cage, going against Roosevelt Roberts. It's a pick'em fight, and it deserves to be because, listen, Frevola is not the best fighter in the world, but his ability to wrestle and grind and make fights very boring, example, Jalen Turner, example, Luis Pena, this is going to be a close fight. And I really don't think laying the money on either side, it's a coin flick. So if you want to go to the roulette table, it's the same exact thing. It's a 50-50 chance. I just think that Roosevelt has to avoid the takedown, but when he fought Vince Pichel, he couldn't do it. And he was grinding on the whole time. And granted, Vince, I think, is a little bit higher level than Frevola, but we're going to find out a lot about this fight. We're going to find out a lot about both guys in this fight because a win here would really propel one guy up, and a loss here would really keep the guy out of the rankings for like a significant while longer. Go ahead, Matt.
It's weird because it's like the UFC just keeps giving Frevola like the fucking longest, lankiest fighters. Like you just said, Turner, Payne, and now Roberts. But like you said, though, it is going to be interesting to see if Roosevelt made any strides with his ground game and takedown defense coming off of really the only – when he lost twice, it's because he couldn't defend the takedown, and then the other one he couldn't survive on the ground. And Frevola's he's a big-time pressure fighter, and I think if he could get inside and start grinding, I trust him to do that more than I trust Roosevelt to keep his range and just, constantly pot shot with ones and twos. That's definitely his game. I think Frovola's been to this dance before, and I feel like he's seen this. He's going to be more comfortable. And honestly, I think Jalen Turner on the feet is probably a tougher out than Roberts. Like, I think he hits harder. I think he's more diverse. Like, Roosevelt, to me, like, I think he could be a little flat-footed at times. Granted, he does pick his shots well, but I don't know. I've been so back and forth on Roberts. Like, I want to be impressed with him, and then I watch him fight, and I'm like, nah. Like, he just doesn't really do anything. And then if Frevola starts mixing his leg kicks, like, you can't just throw ones and twos for a whole fight and expect somebody to sit on the side and just take him on the fucking chin, man. Especially not a guy like Frevola. But I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting fight. One of the more interesting fights, in my opinion, on a very brutal card.
Yeah, so right now I'm picking Frevola because of his success against fighters very similar to Roosevelt Roberts. But if Roosevelt wins on Saturday, I will not even be the least bit surprised. I could see it being like a submission of some sorts. But Frevola, I think, should be able to control and roll here. All right. Here's my big dog play of the week. We got Brian Barberena, minus like 278 going up against Anthony Ivy, who's 0-1 in the UFC. I know Anthony Ivy looked like shit in his debut against Christian Aguilera, but that is just one sample size. If you watch his regional footage, he's a lot better than that. And listen, Barberena, his last two fights were vicious knockouts. It was over a year ago, and he's coming off of back surgery. All right, so there's a lot of things up in the air right now, and I was never really impressed with Barberena other than his durability. Yeah, he can take shots. Yeah, he can pressure a lot. Yeah, he can throw a lot of volume. But that's about it, man. If you can figure out a way to avoid that, like Randy Brown did in the last fight, great. I think he got a lot of like clout on him because he had a great fight with Vicente Luque. But listen, Vicente Luque fights the same way every time, and Barberena just happened to match that perfectly. Yes, he lost in the last 6 seconds, and if it went all the way, you can make the decision Barberena won. But Ivy has something to prove here. He's been training his ass off. Yeah, it was a bad outing, but hey, this guy's hungry. He wants to be in the UFC, and Barberena as a minus 278 is absolutely absurd. Best believe him pulling the trigger on Anthony Ivy at plus 221.
I'm scared for you there, but I totally feel you on that, dude. Barberena's literally Bam Bam, known for eating big shots, and lately has not ate those big shots. That's his MO.
I think you just convinced me. Like, I think I'm going to go Ivy as well because, honestly, maybe if the line was closer, I would just say, yeah, you know what, Barberena, he's crazy volume. But, you know what, with a line this big, I think it's kind of doing Ivy a disjustice, especially with the run he was on at Fury before he got into the UFC. And Aguilera cracks. Like, realistically, he's not that good, but he can do that to anybody. Like, a guy like him with that much power, if he landed that punch, what was it, just a week ago? Again, or was it 2 weeks? Whatever it was. It could have been the same outcome against Sean Brady, but he didn't. I'm not saying Sean Brady's Ivy, but, you know, it could happen against a guy like Aguilera. I'm 100% on board with Ivy pick now. You changed my mind.
One thing I will say on that, I'm totally on board as well. But like me, and I know you guys as well, I weigh experience so much, and I still am going to ride with Ivy. But Barberena here, his last fights, Randy Brown, Vicente Luque, Jake Ellenberger, Leon Edwards, Joe Proctor, Colby Covington, Warley Alves, Sage Northcutt, Chad LaPriest, and Joe Ellenberger. So, I mean, dude, that's only in the UFC. That's in 2014. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, granted, he's lost more than he's won, but fighting those guys versus a guy only in his sophomore UFC fight is risky, but I'm with you guys on it. I like Ivy in that.
Yeah, man.
Especially with that plus money, yeah.
And just one last thing before we go on to the next fight. It's just like, you know, these fighters are like, oh, my God, they have such a great chin. But then once they get cracked, then they get cracked again. And that's exactly what happened to Barberena, man. I don't know if he can eat these shots anymore. And Anthony Ivy, man, if I were him, if I looked at his regional footage, he's one of those guys that wants to take you down and beat you up on top, man. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but, you know, go for those takedowns. If you get Barberena on his back, he's not going to be happy. That's not where he wants to be, man. I could see a path for victory for Ivy 100%. So we'll see. We'll see. Up next, Matt Schnell versus Tyson Nam. I know. Both guys really have not been impressive in the UFC. Matt Schnell's, you can make the argument that he honestly doesn't have a chin anymore because every time he gets knocked out, it's one of those vicious, like, shaking knockouts. You know, Pantoja.
I've never seen somebody at such a lighter weight class get their clock cleaned as much as Matt Schnell. Like, when he gets knocked out, dude, he looks like he dies every single time.
I know, and he's going against He's going against Tyson Nam, who's like one of the few flyweights who has like a lot of power. But the one thing that Schnell has going for him is sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The one thing I have to say about Schnell is I do think he's the better overall fighter. I really do think he has better striking. He's quicker. He's faster. Way better ground game. There's no question there. It's just a matter of can he avoid that shot from Tyson Nam? Like when you saw Tyson Nam versus Sergio Pettis and Kai France, he couldn't land a shot, man. He was a step behind every single time. If you look at the significant strike differential, it's large. It's a large margin. And Matt Schnell is just as quick as those guys. So like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I'm not going with puncher's chance anymore. I'm going to go with the better fighter, Matt Schnell, to win this fight and just avoid that big power punch, man. He works his ass off. He has a newborn at home. Like, I'm going with him. He's the NJ betting guru. He just shout out NJ betting guru. Shout out there. I'm just going to ride with Schnell. I want him to win. You know, Nam is 35. He's not going anywhere in this division. Nothing's happening with him. If Schnell can just avoid that shot, man, maybe win impressively, it'll put him right back into the mix at 125.
What's the line on it?
It's like plus 100 Schnell, minus 104 Nam. So I'm taking the stab on Schnell for sure.
I agree. I remember I was a big fan of the tough season that I think it was tough 24. I want to say that Schnell was on, And he looked pretty good on the show. I think he actually lost to Tim Elliott, who went on and fought Mighty Mouse, and obviously fucking lost. But Canelo is a good fighter. I think he got knocked. Who's it? Was it Rob Font that threw that fucking knee that plays lights out? Dude, that's like a career-changing knockout. Like, you know what I mean? Like we always say. After that, I think he came back. He lost again. Then he went on a good fucking run. He lost to Pantoja, but he was on a run before that. So I'm just doubling down on what you said, Mike. He's a good fighter. I like him. He's a personable guy. He seems like a good guy. So I'm rooting for him as a fan. And I think he's at plus money here is 100% worth a bet. That's like a parlay piece right there. You know what I mean? Like getting Chanel at plus money, I think is like good value.
And honestly, there's nothing wrong with Chanel as a fighter, man. He's very fucking good. His chin is just made of the thinnest glass ever. Like really good everywhere. He's got good stand up. He definitely has the striking. Sorry, well, it does have the striking advantage this fight, but 100% has the grappling advantage. He's actually got pretty good jits, but the thing about Nam is he does hit hard, but like Mike said, he's very fucking slow. And I mean, I guess you could attribute that to his age. I'm gonna go Chanel here to get, but like, I don't know. It's so hard to bet on a guy you've seen get face down on an octagon so many times. But yeah, I'm gonna go Chanel as well.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson, I think the line's a little closer because Nam's last win was such a vicious knockout in like 30 seconds, but it was against another UFC debutant that was, maybe not UFC caliber, so we can't really weigh that much. Listen, Nam's got like 11 losses, and he's been flatlined himself, so we can play with this all day. I'm just going to go with the better fighter. It's just at the end of the day, that's what we're going to go with.
Honestly, I think Chanel should come out shooting fucking takedowns and get this fight to the ground. I know Nam's been harder to take down, but once he's gotten there, like, I don't think that Chanel would have any problem getting him out of there. None. But that being said, easier said than done.
Agreed. All right. Up next, we got short fuse, Ed Herman. Big underdog, plus 200, going up against slow Mike Rodriguez, making a quick turnaround after knocking out Marcin Prachnio about 2 weeks ago. You guys want to start going around with these, or you want me to just keep going?
Oh, we could go. Yeah, why not? We could just give a quick pick if you want. I mean, I'm going Mike Rodriguez here to the fucking bank.
Yeah, absolutely. I just
my lock a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, man, and that was the perfect lock, man. Prachnio is not UFC caliber, and I don't even think he should be fighting mixed martial arts anymore. He has a lot of flaws in his game.
I have a very brutal way of saying people suck, and Mike's just so gentle and nice about it.
Hey, man, if I hit up Prachnio to come on our show, he's going to be like, that kid Matt said I sucked. I'm not coming on your show. So,
I think about that all the time. Like, Ariel is so – I mean, granted, we've been bashing Ariel lately, but Ariel's so partial his whole career. Like, Ariel has a couple of his favorites, obviously, right? But, like, he's been so partial. He'll have two fucking fighters talking shit about each other on his show, and he never, ever bashes. He never goes one way or the other. So I've been trying to be more – not so harsh, because granted, the worst fighter that ever once fought in the octagon would beat my brakes off if he's 100 years old right now. You know what I mean? And like we said, we're fans first. So I'm not talking about the Jets. I'm a Jet fan. I think they fucking suck. Everyone on the team sucks. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just got to say what you feel.
Prachnio sucks.
He's never coming on the show. Fuck him. No.
Would you guys put any stock if Herman's able to get this to the ground?
No, I think – listen, this is what I've been hearing. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately. They're saying, if Ed Herman's got to take this to deep waters, he's got better cardio. Like, what fights are you watching where Ed Herman has good cardio in the second and third round? Like, what? No, Mike Rodriguez is going to win this fight very easily. I really do. If he shows up like he should show up, like with the skill level and the confidence that he should have, he is way better than Ed Herman. I don't care about experience. Ed Herman's like 40 years old, up weight class, dad bod, just fighting for the check at this point. It's Mike Rodriguez's fight to lose. He's going to win this fight.
Dude, when he almost fought fucking our boy Kevin Holland a couple weeks ago on short notice. He was like, "Yeah, I was down to fight him, but I was like 6 margaritas deep." Yeah, super Ed Herman. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, chilling by the pool.
Yeah, like, dude, you're trying to tell me that dude's not there for the paycheck? You know what I mean? He's there for his fucking bar tab. But I love when Ed Herman fights because it literally looks like he has like 3rd-degree sunburn on his body after the fucking second round.
Yeah, so I guess we're all unanimous here. Probably going to make them all of our picks, minus 240. Nice price tag, too. Perfect for a parlay piece. All right, cool. This fight is actually pretty interesting, mostly because I'm a big Billy Quarantillo fan. Philly Quarantillo minus 250 going up against Canada's Kyle Nelson. I think he's like 1-2 in the UFC, if not 1-3. Chris, take it. What do you think?
So I was zoned out, dude. Oh, you said Billy Quarantillo. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. Who were we just talking about him on the show? Who the fuck was it that he had fought a couple times and
Didn't he beat Kama Worthy?
It wasn't Conway. I'm gonna look it up real quick because it was there was something I wanted to say about it because it was someone he's gone back and forth with at least twice. I think he won both times. Or someone coming up with the contender series. Who the fuck was it? Not Poopy Spike Carlisle.
Can you know?
He beat Worthy. I don't know. He's had a nice little run, though. I will say that. The Chris Fishgold fight is a fight that I think they were really trying to promote him with, and the Gavin Tucker fight as well. But Worthy, too, actually. Now that I'm just reading off this list, he's doing the damn thing, too, so good for him. But coming off that win of Spike Carlisle was his last fight. I think we were all over Quarantillo on that one, too, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a fight that I think he was an underdog in. What's the odds on this fight?
He's like minus 250 over Kyle.
He is that big of a favorite?
Yeah. I think this is a step down from Carlisle, by the way. I think Carlisle is better than Nelson. I think this might be a tailor-made matchup, honestly. Because, like, listen, the way that the Quarantillo fights, man, he's a grinder, and he gets stronger as the fight goes on. Kyle Nelson blows his load in the first round and then loses. You know, if you look at all his fights.
Billy's also got insane volume. Like, he's a striking fucking machine. And like you said, Kyle Nelson, I mean, he can finish the fight, but if it's not in the first round, I think Quarantillo just wears on him with volume and grinding him out.
I didn't realize. I thought that's what I was getting at. But with Quarantillo, he's got a nice little fucking run he's on, which I did not realize that he was on that good of a run right now. And MMA math, I did not realize that Kyle Nelson already also has a W over Kama Worthy, a knockout win. But I think that was when Kama Worthy was sucking that weight and was just – he was a different fighter than now, man. I've been impressed by him lately. I guess this win over Luis Pena kind of put me over on him. But, yeah, man.
I just think Billy's going to – I think he's going to steamroll this kid. I mean, Kyle Nelson, he's going to come out in the first round throwing bombs like he always does. And if he doesn't catch Quarantillo, who does get hit a lot, I'll give him that. He gets hit a lot. But I think if Quarantillo can just like eat those punches and be okay, I think he's going to destroy Kyle Nelson inside the distance, which is going to be also one of my plays. All right, next up.
Wait, real quick, Mike, you've been killing it lately with your bets, dude. You got to start fucking – maybe you are an MMA handicapper. I always preach that we're not, but you fucking might be, dude.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Actually, I downloaded this app called Action Network. Matt, have you heard of it maybe?
No shit.
All right. So basically, it's like if I'm just tracking myself, you know, just for my own personal profit or loss. And I'm up in the past 3 weeks. I'm up 835, you know.
No shit.
Yeah, man. And obviously, I'm going to input my bets for this week as well. So if I fucking get up there, man, let's do it.
I actually think I went to high school with a kid who worked for Action Network. So maybe we'll get him on the show. Who knows? He fought a couple times, and I know I think, dude, he was like a purple belt a few years ago. He's probably at least a brown belt by now. Fun fact, just throwing it out there. But he's fought a couple times, amateur fights. He got finished bad in his first fight and rebounded really fucking nicely. I was actually hanging out with his brother not too long ago. Good kid, good family. So maybe we'll have him on the show one day. Who knows?
Hell yeah, man. The more the better. I'm always down for guests. Up next, KGB Lee coming in. Matt, elaborate that facial expression right now.
I'm having fucking PTSD for that Lauren Murphy.
I
literally have PTSD.
She's taken on a very winnable fight in Roxanne Modafferi. Big favorite, minus 305. Long story short, Roxanne isn't good and KGB isn't great, but she should win this fight.
I feel like the UFC wants her to be good, like really, really bad. Like they keep – and now they're like talking about Lauren Murphy had to win away from a title shot. My heart's about to stop. Like, I don't know. I mean, there is no way, in my opinion, Lee loses this fight. Roxanne, literally, at this career, she is what she is. She's not getting any better. She's only getting worse. If Lee wants to keep her spot on this roster, she should actually finish Roxanne. Like, fucking I don't care how you finish her. You need to put her out. You need to get her out of there and make a statement because I know that last fight you didn't lose at all. I think that's consensus opinion is you didn't lose that fight. But go out there and make a statement. You know, they're talking about Lauren Murphy's went away from a title shot, and you're her last win, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So get yourself back in the mix and take somebody out that's over the hill and smoke.
Dude, so here's a fun fact, Chris Viverito fact right here for you all. The past 2 times that Roxanne was this big of an underdog, I threw her in a juicy parlay and both of them hit. So maybe I'll continue the trend this weekend. Who knows? I think she was a big underdog against Antonina Shevchenko, and she was a big underdog against Macy Barber. That was on the McGregor card, and we all watched that together. And I laid some wood on her and won. But anyway, that has nothing to do with who I think is going to win this fight. I think KGB Lee should win this fight. Is she coming off back-to-back split decision losses?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Lauren Murphy, and who the fuck was before that?
Calderwood.
Oh, and Calderwood, JoJo Calderwood, that's right. Those are 2 girls who are, I guess, at the top of the division. Lauren Murphy, 1 win away from the title shot, and Lauren Murphy 1 away, and JoJo was supposed to fight for the belt. But we know what that means in the UFC. She looks like shit in her last fight. But anyways, I think KGB should win this fight, but minus 300, and her past couple performances have not been spectacular. It's a lot. I was there for a girls fight. I feel like a girl fight like this, they've already fought once. They fought 2 a split decision. Granted, it was like 100 years ago, but still, it just shows that, you know, they're at that point they were somewhat same skill level. And I think Roxanne is what has been the better fighter, but at this stage in her career, it's just like win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1, lose, win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when they first fought, it was like 6 years ago. KGB was like 2-0.
Yeah.
And Roxanne was probably like 15-11.
I was going to say 190.
Yeah. It's funny you say that too about the betting lines. And I've actually went back and had to look at this for myself because I just happened to notice a pattern in my betting. And I don't mean this to be sexist at all. But in recent months, the reason, if I'm down on a UFC card, chances are it's because of a female fight getting fucking, like a big female favorite losing. Like it's happened almost every card. It's really true. Like if you go back and like, if I'm digging out of a hole, it's probably because I hammered some female fighter that was a huge favorite. Granted, I shouldn't be doing that to begin with, but whatever. That's been like one of my recent revelations or whatever the word is. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not blasting female fighters over 300 odds anymore. I'm done with it.
Mike, fun fact, when they fought, Roxanne was 16-11.
Oh, I was close.
Jesus Christ.
That was after Roxanne was 15-5, and then went on a juicy 6-fight losing streak. And yeah,
I mean, you can't doubt her work ethic, man. No one works harder than her, but she is the most unathletic fighter on the UFC roster. There's no doubt about it. She doesn't have an athletic bone in her body. She can't see. She's blind as a bat. KGB should be able to piece her up, avoid the takedown, and just win a 3-round decision.
Roxanne is a fucking pioneer. I'm looking like I knew she's been fighting professionally since 2003 in Smack Girl, Greatest Common Multiple, Smack Girl again, Hook and Shoot, Smack Girl, International Fighting Championships, The Eve of Destruction, then finally Ring of Combat, Mixed Fighting Championship, Boardwalk Blitz, G-Shudo, Mars, which is actually Bodog. I know that. Fatal Females Fighting, Asian Invasion. That sounds like a porno. I actually got to see that one. K Grace, Valkyrie, Strike Force, finally, King of the Cage, Musin, God of Mixed Martial Arts, Cage Warriors, Jules, BEP, Invicta, Fusion Fight League, Ladies Fight Night, and then obviously I don't need to keep reading these, but just, dude, what the fuck? You know what I mean? She's fought everyone. Good for fucking her, man. It's her 42nd pro fight. It's hilarious.
Honestly, just put her in the Hall of Fame because that's impressive.
All right, relax.
Catch her last fight on Brazzer.
Amazing. All right, guys. You guys ready for this co-main?
Oh, I'm ready, dude.
Ready for this? Co-main featuring Otman Azatar, who has one fight in the UFC, somehow made it to the co-main event against Kama Worthy, who was supposed to lose his last 2 fights based on the odds. But, he's been doing the damn thing, winning his fights. Impressive win over Luis Pena in a fight that arguably you could say if it went to the decision, he might have lost. So Listen, I think Matt said it before the podcast started. I'm done fading Worthy. I think he's very, very good striker. Clearly, miles better than Luis Pena because of that first round was very telling. And Otman Azatar, he really doesn't have a great regional scene. He was fighting in Germany in like a German fighting league. So he was fighting pretty much bums. But like the one thing that he does have is he can crack. He hits so fucking hard for the division. He throws his hands like land like fucking trucks. And the one thing about Worthy is like I think 5 of his 6 losses were vicious knockouts against, granted, UFC caliber fighters, but they were vicious knockouts when he was cutting to 145. Now he's at 155, much more rejuvenated, looks a lot better. But if you're going and it's going to be a stand-up fight, I have yet to see Ottman go to the ground. And when he does go to the ground, he looks a little uncomfortable. So I think it's going to be a stand-up affair. And again, if we're going with puncher's chance, I'm not doing it. I'm going Worthy to get this W as a slight favorite at -137.
I'm so fucking sick of this. Just these fighters, dude, that I can't get a read on, and I keep fucking losing. I feel like I'm finally gonna bet on Worthy, and he's gonna die. But
dude,
I mean,
hits.
I know he really does. I was watching him the other day. He hits like a fucking truck, but he is giving up a lot of size in this fight, which I'm hoping plays into my. I don't even know who I'm picking yet. Like on the show right now, I'm gonna pick Worthy, but like you're right. I'm not doing this puncher's chance thing. He's 3 inches taller. I think he has like a 3-inch reach. I think that Ottman has a hard time getting inside. And if you just want to go off recent competition, Worthy's been more active, obviously. He's fighting guys that, granted, he was supposed to lose to, but he's saying like, yo, I'm here. I'm ready to fight. I don't care if I'm losing in the last round. I'm here to fight all 3 fucking rounds, and I'm here to put my foot on the gas. So that's my recent memory of him, and he's fucked me twice, and I'm not going to let it happen again. I'm kind of on his train right now. Granted, I don't think this is like – I don't know. Would you guys consider this a step down from Pena?
No. Honestly, I think Pena was a little overrated his whole career. I think the UFC was trying to push him, but I think he's just not there yet. I think Ottman is a little bit of a stiffer test. You know, I just think that – I don't know. That power is the kind of power like you get hot and you get hit, and it's just like it affects you. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Kama hits you and it just like punches and bunches. And I think Ottman will be able to eat all those punches and at least make it to the decision.
So interesting stat here. I mean, granted, again, you brought up the regional scene and that whole shit. So significant strikes landed per minute. Ottman's 7.6, Worthy's 4.4. And he also has the advantage in accuracy. Again.
What about absorbed? 7.6 is high. He has to eat a lot too.
I'd have to find that. Of course, you have ESPN.com. No, who am I? Yeah, I'm on.
It's a small sample size, though, right? It's just that one UFC fight.
That's what I don't know. Does ESPN pull full career, or is it just UFC?
No, it's just UFC.
Yeah.
Okay. UFC. There you go.
That's true too. But when someone's is that high, like I know Gaethje's, I think was at 9, which is like a record, but he's also absorbing like 7, which is also extremely high. You know what I mean? So if someone's throwing 7, they're probably eating 5 or 6 themselves.
It's a tough fight to call, guys. I would not put Chris. Go ahead. I just wouldn't put this in my any parlay.
Me neither. I wouldn't want to get hit by either one of these guys either. That's for fucking sure. That was it. The right hand was coming dangerously close to Luis Pena a few times, and finally got the choke. But still, Matt was also pissed because he said he didn't see a tap because I think he laid the wood on Luis Pena.
I didn't think he was going to finish that. I didn't see with the camera angle. You couldn't really see the choke. And then I saw the tap, and then they showed another angle. I was like, oh, that was as tight as it gets.
Yeah. He like the angle he had that. He also spoke about that too. I know we just had Jordan Griffin on our show. Listen to that episode, and he said he does something special with his guillotines, and Worthy was cranking on it super awkwardly, and he says he does that intentionally as well. Anyway, I think Worthy, I saw he actually posted on Instagram. He's another Guru Squad member, Worthy. He said he hates when people talk shit about him on podcasts, and here we are talking shit. And we're not really talking shit. We're actually giving him his due. So if you want to come on the show, Worthy, hit us up. But I'm going to ride with him in this fight as well. I just think that they're finally putting some respect on his name, and this is a stiffer test, but I think the UFC wants to see if he can pass this test. I think he's on like a 7 or 8 fight win streak, so see what you got, Kama.
One last thing to play devil's advocate, just to make our listeners a little bit more hesitant to place a bet, is Ottman did come out to Vegas from Morocco very early to adapt to the, time change and all that shit. He's taking this very seriously. He's all about that, Allah kind of shit. And, those guys always fight with heart. Those guys always fight with heart, man. I'm saying, I'm complimenting them. Calm down, Matt.
But just the way you said it, like that Allah type of shit. Like,
All right, it came out wrong, but I mean nothing but
We're sorry, YouTube and Apple and Spotify and everyone else.
This episode contains explicit content. Check. So I don't know. I think it's going to be close. I'm not laying either side, but I'm excited because hopefully someone goes to sleep. We'll see. Guys, ready for this main event? It's wonderful.
Barn burner.
All right, we got the karate hottie, Michelle Waterson, getting closer to a pick'em. She opened up much more of a dog. She's about plus 105 now to Angela Hill, slight favorite. Matt.
shockingly, I'm considering making Hill my lock, man.
Same.
Really?
Whoa, that's crazy.
Same.
Like,
I'm not even kidding.
No, I'm saying whoa because you guys both said it. That's crazy.
I swear to God, guys, we did not talk about this beforehand either, dude. And Mike, you made a good point to me a while ago. And your point was that, not to take your point away, but Waterson just hasn't gotten any better. She is what she is. Meanwhile, Hill's been fighting often and actually looking like she belongs now. Showing she can fight in multiple facets of the game, and she just looks really – I think she looks really good lately. As opposed to Waterson, man, like she's so small and everything. Like, granted, once you're that small for your whole career, I think you adapt and you know what to expect. So I really don't put that much stock into size at this point. She's such a fucking vet. She's been in there with so many people. I highly doubt that it's the biggest difference maker in the world, but nonetheless, it's a factor. I don't know. I'm going on activity. Waterson, what the fuck? This always happens. Has been active. She's been vocal, and she's been training her ass off, and I think she gets the biggest win of her career this weekend. I wouldn't be surprised with the finish either at all.
Dude,
Chris.
plus 650 inside the distance. I like it.
I think I'll just play devil's advocate to that last statement. I just think that I was just pulling up Waterson's record here because I was going to use this as a talking point. But her last fights, decision, rear naked choke to Rose was in 2017. So that'll be she's tough to finish. She went 5 hard rounds with Joanna, who couldn't put her away. I just think Angela Hill is very good, and this is at least her second UFC stunt and stint. I said stunt, right? Stint, and she's on a little bit of a roll. Actually, she lost her last fight, right? Claudia Gadelha beat her.
Yeah, you can make the argument that she should have
won that fight. I agree. I think I laid the wood on Claudia, so I wasn't mad about it. But her last fight before that she lost was to that Yan Shinan, or I'm not sure to say her name. And that was a fight. She was supposed to lose that fight, and she did lose that fight. She hasn't been – I don't think she's been a favorite in a little bit. But you know how I am with the UFC promoting stuff. I'm all over the place with this fight because I can't
pulling up her record.
But the UFC now is totally accepting her. She's got an analyst role. She was on the desk, doing a little not commentating, but she's just on the desk on, I was gonna say Fox, wow, on ESPN, and just doing her thing there, and she looks good doing it. They've been promoting her way more, so maybe this is a setup fight because they love Karate Hottie. Dana and her are legitimately like close friends, so I don't know. Maybe this is a setup fight. Waterson clearly is getting a little past her prime. I think her and her husband even said they were thinking about having another kid because they only have the one daughter. So if they did have another kid, it would be time for her to. Dude, you can't. Like after that, that'd be at least a year and a half layoff, and then coming back after that would be super tough. I'm not sure how old she is, but she's in MMA years. She's been around. I actually want to see how old she is now. I'm curious. She's 34. Angela Hill's 35, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, I cannot right now. I guess I'll go with Angela Hill strictly up to promotion factor, and I think the UFC does want her to win. She's ranked now. Her second UFC stunt has been highly successful compared to her first run, and she was doing really well outside the UFC too. And I think finally she's just putting it together later in her career.
How do you guys just refresh my memory? I know she won. How was her fight against that Loma girl? Did she beat her up pretty good? Yeah,
Matt,
she did.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because listen, Luke Bumi is a very, very credentialed Muay Thai fighter, and Angela Hill won that very decisively, very clearly, very impressively, and I was on Luke Bumi in that fight.
I think it was 30-27 across the board.
I think she was just also a lot bigger. I think Lukbumi
Yeah.
supposed to be an atomweight.
She beat they are the same height, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just me. Hill always looks longer when she's in the cage. I mean, she obviously is in this fight. She has like a 4-inch reach advantage. But if you asked me, if you put a fucking gun to my head and said who's taller, I would not have said they're the same height. Angela Hill just always looks like a pretty sizable fighter.
I think, I agree. I think Michelle Waterson's a little undersized for 115, in my personal opinion. But
she was an atomweight too.
yeah. So I think she's just a little too old to cut to 105, and obviously 105 isn't in the UFC. So take that for what it's worth. I just think Michelle Waterson has not gotten any better since she's gotten UFC. Angela Hill is finally hitting her stride at 35. Listen, she's been in the UFC since 2014. Got cut, came back, doing the damn thing. Great takedown defense. Showed that in the Claudia Gadelha fight after a rough first round. And listen, this is 5 rounds. If it was 3 rounds, I'm not sure I'd pick Hill. I could see Waterson having a little success on the ground with Hill in rounds 1 and 2, and after that, it's going to be Hill 3, 4, and 5. We've seen Waterson get a little bit slower in there as the fight waits on, and Hill seems to just kind of be the same the whole time, punches and bunches, kicks and punches all the way. I really do think it's going to be a very one-sided fight, and the odds are juicy.
I would love to see these odds if they gave Hill the win over Gadelha. Because she put it on her in that last round.
I feel like Vegas is keen to that, though. I mean, you want to wait. I don't know shit about betting, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? They know, like, people know.
You also got to take in the casuals aspect of it, because I'm sure, that's definitely taken into consideration. Like, people are just like, oh, she lost to Claudia Gadelha and all, like, the whole shit. They don't actually watch the fight and remember what happened. Like, if you ask, like, I know Claudia won that fight, but if you said what happened to that fight, I'd be like, yeah, like Claudia was kind of winning, but then Angela beat her brakes off. If it was a 5-round fight, she would have won.
And typical Gadelha was gassed. And
gassed.
I think she's about to get fed to the wolves in Yan Shannon or whatever. They just got rescheduled for, I think, November, and she's about to get put on. I wonder what the odds would be on that. Should be a big.
All right, boys, we are approaching the 55-minute mark. Chris, you want to take Bellator 246?
Yeah, I'm just going to run over the main card real quick. So Bellator 246, Saturday night. Get a little combination action with the UFC. Go ahead.
Just because you guys brought it up real quick, they actually have the odds up. Claudia is barely an underdog. So
get your fucking money ready, boys and girls.
Go ahead, Chris. I just wanted to point that out.
No, don't ever be sorry, bro. All right, main event. Bellator bantamweight title on the line. It's vacant. It was won originally by Darian Caldwell, who then lost it in Rizin and the Bellator cage to Kyoji Horiguchi. Kyoji Horiguchi blew every part of his body out, and now the bantamweight title is vacant. Juan Archuleta is taking on Patchy Mix. Patchy Mix, nickname No Love, that's already taken. Sorry, bud. Patchy Mix, though, dude, I had to write this down. He's 10-0 as an amateur, 13-0 as a pro. So he's been never lost in mixed martial arts before. He's only 3-0 in Bellator / Rizin, because Rizin was they did that cross promotion, and it was technically under the Rising banner. But 3-0 in Bellator, going right into a title shot. Almost all his wins are by sub. He's a submission specialist. They have a common opponent in Ricky Bandejas, and Patchy tapped Ricky out real quick. Fellow Jersey boy. We got to get Ricky on the podcast, by the way. Juan Archuleta is 24-2. So the records here, boys, are heavy. Juan Archuleta, I wanted to point out, has the win over Bandejas. He also has win over Henry Krause and Eduardo Dantas. Brutal knockout, and those are some Bellator staples right there. Juan Archuleta trained with TJ Dillashaw, as Mike said yesterday, looks absolutely shredded diced to the socks. He looks unreal, perfect shape. Patchy Mix, though, coming in, I believe, is what?
I've never heard somebody say dice to the sock.
What? I stole that from Luke Thomas. Luke Thomas says that all the time, and it just got stuck in my head. He says it all the time, so I was like, you know what? I'll use that. It just came in my head. Anyway. It means his dick is huge. Patchy Mix is -180 to Juan Archuleta's +150. +150 on Juan Archuleta, I would definitely take that bet. Granted, I think Bellator is trying to push Patchy a little bit here. He's got the looks, got the submissions, but the Spaniard, Juan Archuleta, is super well-rounded. trains with, the likes of TJ Dillashaw, Cub Swanson. He's training in Aaron Pico. He's training in the garage with Sam Calvita. So, he's coming in fucking ready to bang and plus 150 odds on a more battle-tested opponent with better opposition. I'll lay the wood on that. So I'm going to take I almost said Bandejas. I'm going to take Archuleta there. Do you guys agree, disagree?
I got Archuleta at 140 today, and I took it. So, hell yeah.
There you go. Let's get it. Next up is a sleeper on the card, not literally. John Fitch taking on Neiman Gracie. This fight here, the odds on this is another one. Neiman Gracie is only minus 120 and John Fitch is minus 110. So almost a pick 'em. This fight's been going back and forth. As of lately, I'm just going to reference this here. John Fitch's last fight, he went to a draw with Rory McDonald, and that was a super unmotivated Rory, who is debating retirement. He was on a 5-fight win streak previously, but he's only fought 4 times since 2015, the end of 2015 or end of 2016. Neiman Gracie originally opened at minus 170. So I don't know. That's kind of a wacky line. Why a lot of wood is being laid on John Fitch. That's kind of aggressive. He's 9-1. His only loss is to Rory. He's beat the likes of Ed Ruth. Neiman Gracie is a Bellator guy that they're really trying to push. They both lost to Rory McDonald in the welterweight Grand Prix, which ended up Rory ended up losing his belt to Douglas Lima. And yeah, man, this is it's a crazy fight. 2 submission specialists, and obviously John Fitch. It just seems like he's past his prime fighting in WSOF, PFL, the UFC, Bellator. He's been everywhere. And Neiman Gracie is, still relatively green in MMA, but he's got some good wins under his belt. Like I said, the Ed Ruth win again was pretty surprising to me, and they put him right into the welterweight Grand Prix. So I think this is a fight where another one, odds are pretty close, but I'm going Neiman Gracie on this one.
Chris, hold on real quick. You think there's value at Neiman at such a low price? Like, you think?
I do. He opened at minus 170.
Interesting. Okay, you convinced me, bro.
It's a little bit of a wacky line, but I like Neiman. His striking has gotten significantly better too. And if you look at his Instagram, he's always hitting the bag and doing, workout. Like his jiu-jitsu, no one's ever fucking questioning that. You know what I mean? But maybe there's something I'm not seeing here. I just think that with his record and his resume and how he's looked in his past few fights and what I've seen on his Instagram, he's always in fucking really good shape too. So I would bet on him for sure.
You think this is one of those fights where, they're both submission specialists that they can't
ends up standing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why I mentioned that. I think that Neiman's stand-up has gotten significantly better. Same thing with Ed Ruth. How the fuck was Neiman Gracie supposed to get Ed Ruth, a 3-time NCAA Division I All-American wrestler, to the ground? You know what I mean? And he won a stand-up affair there. And Ed Ruth's been working on his striking a lot as well. So props to both of them. Next up is Liz Carmouche versus Deanna Bennett. Big yikes. Liz Carmouche making her Bellator debut. She's 13-7, taking on Deanna Bennett, who is 10-6-1, who started off her career 8-0. So big yikes. She's gone on a 2-6-1 losing streak and hasn't looked good doing so. I think Carmouche is a gigantic favorite. She is coming in at minus 515. I wouldn't bet on that with your money, Mike. This is fucking, I don't know. It's aggressive. Yes. Do I think Liz Carmouche is going to win? Yes. Is this a Bellator setup fight? Yes. But it's also Bellator and freaky shit freaking happens. So we'll see. Anytime Deanna Bennett has fought any level of competition, though, she's failed miserably. She's got 8 wins over legitimate nobodies, and I see her losing this fight. She's 5'4", fighting at 125, which is up a weight class for her, and I just don't see her being too successful. Next up, I think this is actually the sleeper of the whole card. I love this fight. It's the feature. It's a lightweight feature bout on the to open up the main card. It's Derek Campos taking on Keone Diggs. This fight is awesome. Keone Diggs is 8-0. Hawaiian, all those Hawaiians are tough as fucking nails. The only thing is 8-0, relatively green for being 33 years old. Derek Campos, on the other hand, has fought fucking everyone. He's fought Brandon Gertz twice, Michael Chandler. Literally, he's a Bellator staple. His last fight, I believe, was to AJ McKee in the featherweight Grand Prix. He's coming in at plus money here. So this is another one where it's like, he's fucking battle tested. He's fought everyone Bellator has to offer. Yes, his last fight he lost to AJ McKee, but that was at featherweight. He was sucking a little bit more weight to make himself available for the 145 Grand Prix, where now this is a lightweight bout. So I don't know how that's going to work for him or against him. But again, he's beat guys like Brandon Gertz, who literally has to fucking chop his leg off to make 155 pounds. So I see him being pretty successful here. Keone Diggs, though, is someone Bellator is trying to push again, 8-0, and is coming in at minus 145 in this fight to Derek Campos's plus 115. So take that for what it is. Derek Campos at plus money seems pretty tempting. Prelims, I'm not even going to touch on them because these are not even worth watching. Pat Casey taking on Daniel Madrid. No one cares. There's Ty Gwerder, 4-0, taking on George Tacos, 4-1. Davion Franklin taking on Roz Hilton. This is the one fight I want. Matt, look up Roz Hilton. You know exactly who he is. He is a gigantic. He looks like he was born the year 1 BC. Like literally. Roz, R-A-S, Hilton with a Y. You know exactly who it is. Everyone's seen him. He looks like a fucking caveman. He's the hair. They call him like the Jamaican Shamrock or something like that. He's half Jamaican, half Irish, and he's just
what the fuck is this?
Dude, he's 6'6". He's a giant. He looks like a caveman fighting the octagon, and it's one of those Bellator freak show fights. He's taking on Davion Franklin, who's 1-0, who does not have a Sherdog page. So that alone says it all for the Bellator 246 prelims. But that card in itself is an unreal card. Things you love to see.
And
that's all I got, though.
That's exactly why we cover Bellator on this show as well, because both these Bellator cards beat the shit out of this UFC Vegas 10 card. And listen, it is what it is. If you're pumping out that much content, that's how it's going to be sometimes. Nothing wrong with that. All right, boys, closing statements. Great show. We hit we're about an hour and 5 minutes in. We covered 3 fight cards, and I think we did pretty well. So closing statements?
Yeah, real quick. Last thing I just wanted to touch on, and Matt, if you want to go on, I don't want to keep us, I don't want to drag it out. But
I actually have it in front of me.
Yeah, speaking of Bellator, obviously they're streamed on DAZN, or as a lot of casuals would say, DAZN or DAZN. Their CEO, his name is, I can never pronounce his last name. It's Leonard Blavatnik. He is, a billionaire 100 times over. He's got like $20 billion is his net worth. Anyway, they were trying to start DAZN off with a pop, and Canelo was their first major signing. Signed a $365 million 11-fight deal back in, I think it was 2018, and only fought 3 times. His first fight, $15 million guaranteed. Next 2, 35 and 35, and has not fought on the contract since, and has fought guys of like Rocky Fielding and just, he fought Sergey Kovalev. And there was one more fight in there. I'm just trying to think. This is off the top of my head. Oh, he beat what's his name? The dude that beat cancer. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, everyone wants the Triple G fight. Daniel Jacobs. Everyone wants to see the Triple G fight, and for the 3rd time, and DAZN is just not getting there. They do not have the power to force Canelo to take fights. And no one wants to watch Canelo fight a nobody for $35 million, and his promoter can't get him a fight in Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy. So anyway, Matt, if you want to go off on it real quick, more of the story, he's suing DAZN. I said it as a joke. He's suing DAZN for $280 million, DAZN and his promoter in Golden Boy / Oscar De La Hoya, suing them for $280 million, which is the remaining money he's owed on the $365 million contract, because they literally can't get him fights.
So the key word in this whole saga is the word premium. There's a lot of guys right now that DAZN is claiming aren't premium. Obviously, Triple G being one of them is. But that being said, they're saying that guys like Jacobs and Kovalev weren't. Take that as you will. I mean, it's arguable, but at the same time, if you're going to turn around and say fucking Khabib is, it's very obvious what's happening here. Like, it's a money fight, but you're going at it the complete wrong way, in my opinion. Someone like Masvidal, okay, makes sense. You see what he's doing in the UFC. He wants money fights. Maybe you could spark something, but going after somebody like Khabib or Oscar De La Hoya, who literally, I mean, just ask Dana White about Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, if he took this fight, it's because he ran out of money to buy fucking cocaine, dude. It's insane to me. He's 47, hasn't fought since 2008, and they want to put him in a ring against Canelo Alvarez. My whole gripe with this is the definition of the word premium opponents. They could prove Caleb Smith and BJS for Canelo, but not as premium, which then cuts into the license fee of Canelo, and he's not making the money that he would have within the contract. But then they're prying at guys like Khabib and as I just mentioned, De La Hoya. And I think like just the Khabib one is arguably more crazy than De La Hoya, dude. Like the only people, like obviously we would all watch Khabib versus Canelo. There's few fight fans that wouldn't. But
I don't know if I fucking would, bro.
I mean, we would, but there's people that have been blind and deaf their whole life that knows the outcome of that fight. Nobody wants to see that. I don't care that Khabib dropped Conor McGregor with a wrestler's overhand.
We're losing you, Matt.
Matt, your connection sucks. Chris, you hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly fine. Anyway, Matt's fucking zooming us on a potato. More of the story, fucking Canelo Alvarez is pissed at Oscar De La Hoya, and he's suing them for $280 million. De La Hoya wants to fight him because De La Hoya is a cokehead and he's running for cocaine, trying to make a comeback. Nobody wants to fucking see that. And that's about it. Let's wrap this up. Obviously, never fucking wrap. Last note, Nick Diaz. I don't need to fucking repeat what everyone said. I'm a Nick Diaz fanboy. I was rooting my ass off for him in my bedroom in college in a beach chair at UFC 183 when he took on Anderson Silva. I honestly don't want to see him fight again. Being as big of a Nick Diaz fan as I am, leave his legacy the way it is. We lost Matt. Fuck Matt. He's never invited back. And the end. It's just fitting that Matt left us.
All right, everybody, enjoy the fight. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Happy football if you're a football fan tonight, and tune in next time, baby. Love you all.